All right, we do have some breaking weather news to pass along right now. A tornado warning is now in effect in Kentucky. We want to get right to meteorologist Chris Johnson for the very latest on what exactly is going on. Chris?
Hey, thanks, Andrea. Yeah, we've been watching this cell. We've been talking about this over the last about 35 minutes or so. This cell has been showing areas of rotation. At times, it passed through central Kentucky and has continued to slowly drift off towards the north and east. And now the Weather Service out of Jackson, Kentucky, has issued a tornado warning. This is going to go until 7:45 p.m. This is just north of Clay City here. I'm going to step off screen. We're going to zoom in things and track this out for you. But it's been showing signs of some rotation, and that rotation has tightened up a bit over the last few scans. So we're going to track this storm out closely. Certainly been showing rotation over the last 15-20 minutes. We're really starting to tighten up. So this tornado warning has been issued. This is for Powell County. This is just north of Clay City, but includes the city there. Also southern parts of Montgomery County. And then this warning will also cover parts of Menifee County, getting into Bath County as well. So this storm is tracking off towards the north and east. This is a radar indicated tornado warning. But again, signs of rotation has certainly been there. We're going to switch over to velocity now to give you a better area or better idea where this area of rotation is showing up. You can see folks there just north of Clay City. The strongest part of this storm, the rotation that we're seeing, is just north of Clay City. But this is the area of concern here. Again, we've been watching this cell over the last 15-20 minutes. Rotation has been there. We actually watched a couple cells merge together, and it helped intensify this storm, and it did so at the right time. And once that happened, this rotation really started to tighten up. The storm began to strengthen, and here we are. Now we are tracking this rotation just north of Clay City, and the storm is moving off towards the north and east. So we're going to get a tracker on this, the most dangerous part of this storm and this rotation that we're seeing right now. So just north of Clay City here. We're going to put a tracker on this that's working off towards the north and east. So folks there in Frenchburg right now, you're going to be getting in on some of the rotation here in the next 15-20 minutes. So this is an area of concern with this storm. Folks, now just east of Powell Valley, folks there in Powell Valley up towards West Bend, everybody's safe. The strongest part of that cell now towards your east. Folks there in Jeffersonville, the rotating part of this storm more than likely will stay just south of you. So folks there in far southern Montgomery County, this is a cell we got to watch closely as this rotation begins to track north and eastward over the next 15 to 25 minutes. And again, this warning will continue for these areas until 7:45 p.m. So we're going to keep an eye on this cell and continue to track this one out. You can see a bit of a hook there. More than likely, more than likely we will be. We're seeing a bit of a hook signature here. Again, north of Clay City, that rotation evident on radar. We switch over to velocity. Here you go. Just north of Clay City, we are seeing that rotation, and it's been relatively tight over the last couple scans. Again, you can see the area of concern here where those reds start to line up with those greens. That's indicative of some rotation when you're looking at this type of radar, this velocity imagery. In addition to that, we've seen some lightning strikes start to pulse up. And that's also an indicator that this storm is intensifying, and we are starting to see this storm grow stronger, the updraft getting a little stronger in the storm, and that can give a good indicator for us that that storm is indeed strengthening and starting to rotate and come together a little bit better, a little stronger as far as that cell is concerned. You look at other parts of East Kentucky. We just got some isolated downpours, some storms that have been showing up outside of this main cell. So folks there north of Beattyville, just north of Jackson, Breathitt County, up towards Louisa, just some isolated activity. There were some more storms we were watching closely back to our west and southwest. Some stronger cells that were just north and west of Russell Springs, now working along the Cumberland Parkway. Folks there in Casey County, not seeing a whole lot with these cells, but they've been on the stronger side at times, packing some breezy winds, some heavy rainfall, and some lightning. And when you zoom out, really, the only cell of concern is the tornado warning for the counties we've been talking about. And this, again, continues until 7:45 p.m. So let's take a little closer look here. We're really starting to see this supercell come together nicely. Just north and east of Clay City, some rotation, pretty evident here. This is the strongest part of this cell. north and east of Clay City. We're getting the reds and the greens that are starting to line up. When you start to see that happen on this velocity imagery, well, that's a good indicator that we're getting some good rotation. So let's look at the debris detector. We're not seeing anything yet that would give us a sign of possible touchdown there, although there looks like there might have been a slight CC drop there, indicative of maybe a brief touchdown. So again, cell we're watching and tracking closely. We go back here and we slow this up. And when you start to see these values drop off, and this is noted here just west of Clay City. When we say a CC drop, this is a debris detector, this type of radar that we're using here. So just west of the Mountain Parkway. When you go back and loop through, just before this warning was issued, it had been showing some rotation, but notice how that lines up with that rotation for the storm. Let's switch over here, get back to our velocity imagery, and again, that highlighted area that I circled, we were seeing some rotation there. We play this through. Notice how rotation gets a little stronger. You can start to see the reds and greens aligning more, and that's indicative of some good rotation. And notice there, over the last couple scans, not only are you getting that tighter rotation couplet there, but also starting to get some lightning strikes. And again, that are signs come together that this storm is really starting to strengthen, and that is a concern. So let's go back to radar here. We have a pretty classic signature here, supercell extending into southern parts of Montgomery County. This is south of Mount Sterling. So folks there in Jeffersonville, the strongest part of this storm, that rotating part of this storm, more than likely hanging just to your south, but we're going to keep an eye on this one. You're going to likely get some heavy rainfall, lightning, and some wind with this. But that rotating part is just north and east of Clay City. Let's go back to our velocity imagery here, still seeing that rotation. It's been pretty good over the last few scans. And again, this is tracking off towards the north and east. So, folks there, let's see, just north of Stanton. If you're in Stanton right now, folks, you're okay. If you're in Stanton, really points south of this red polygon that's flashing. That rotating part of the storm, it's going to stay just to your north. So good news there. But now this storm continues to track off northern parts of Powell County. So these are the areas we are most concerned about. Let's see if we can get any information from the National Weather Service as far as how this structure is looking and any reports that are coming in. Not seeing much on chat right now, but radar, again, structure is there, so things continue to point towards good rotation with this cell. Tornado warning remains. This, again, will go until 7:45 p.m. Now the strongest part of this storm and that rotation starting to approach areas, Morris Creek Road. If you're in and around this area, it'd be a good idea to get into your safe spot now. That rotation is starting to move overhead. And then folks downstream of this, so you're getting into far northern parts of Powell County, far southern parts of Montgomery County. This is south of Jeffersonville, south of 460, but this is the part of the storm we're most concerned about. Switch over to storm velocity, still seeing that there, getting in on some good rotation there. So again, this cell is really intensified over the last 15 minutes or so, and that's what prompted that tornado warning. So let's go back here. Let's look at the latest scans. This is that debris detector. This is usually a good indicator for us and a type of radar we will use to see if we did in fact potentially have a tornado try to touch down. And it looks like there's been a CC drop before and just before the warning was issued. This is just before it hit the Mountain Parkway, just north and west of Clay City. And it looks like we are getting some signatures back there. And again, look at the lightning that's pulsing up in southern parts of Montgomery County. That is the concern. So the strongest part of this storm now approaching Morris Creek Road. If you're in and around this area, it'd be best to get into your safe place now. This rotating part of this storm is moving overhead. Switch back over to velocity, and show you just that. Yeah, right now, Morris Creek Road, this cell now starting to rotate overhead. So if you're in and around this area, Paint Creek Road, Morris Creek Road, now would be the time to get into your safe place. And then some areas east of that. Again, latest scan showing this storm intensifying just a bit more. Let's go back and show you the last couple scans here. Rotation is there. Reds and greens are lining up together. Rotation is there. Rotation is there. And this latest scan showing it intensifying a bit. Seeing more lightning strikes with this cell. So again, classic signature here. This hooking. Folks there in Clay City, you are in the clear as far as this tornado warning is concerned. The strongest part of that storm is now just to your north and east. You do have some more rain that's building back in behind this cell, but there's no rotation, nothing associated with that. Again, the strongest part of this tornado warning in this cell, the dangerous part of that storm is now east of you. So folks there in West Bend, Verdon, Powell Valley, Clay City, you're in the clear. Folks there in Stanton, Rosslyn, Bowen, this storm is hanging just to your north. So if you're in and around these areas, you're safe. Strongest part of this cell hanging just to your north. Now, areas, Means, Cornwell, Frenchburg, folks there that are south of 460, this rotating part of the cell is going to be tracking north and eastward into your area. So this is a concern. Let's go back and let's loop this through. And we were talking about this cell on air through a couple weather hits, and it's been showing some weaker rotation at times, but we had a couple cells that merged together, and that helped intensify and strengthen this cell. And as that happened, we got a slightly better storm structure, and then we started to get a tightening as far as a couplet and rotation is concerned. And here we are, this cell still ongoing, this tornado warning that will continue for these areas until 7:45 p.m. This also includes southern parts of Montgomery County. So folks here in northern Powell County, western Menifee County, these areas are the areas we need to pay attention to as this rotating cell tracks north and eastward. Starting to see a lot of lightning associated with this. It tells us the storm is getting a little bit stronger. That storm structure starting to grow, and possibly getting in on what could be some hail associated with this as well as that storm continues to strengthen. We zoom out outside of this cell, folks. This is the only concern we have. We have some isolated downpours across portions of East Kentucky along the Mountain Parkway, just north of Beattyville, folks there in Salyer'sville, up towards Louisa, just some isolated rain, heavy at times, that's about it. There's no other active warnings across the area. Now, folks there in Casey County, we got a stronger storm that's starting to make its way into your area. So let's look at this one. This one was packing some heavier rain and some gusty winds. And at times was showing a little bit of rotation. We have just enough spin in the atmosphere right now for some of these storms that are developing to offer up a little rotation. Not seeing it like I was earlier with that cell that's moving into Casey County. So good news there. In fact, that cell really starting to break up some as it's continued to work north and eastward over the last 45 minutes or so. So good news there. Back to the tornado warning. This continues though. Let's switch our radar sights, get back to Jackson here. Yeah, and you can still see storm structures there. Folks there in Jeffersonville, southern parts of Montgomery County picking up on very heavy rainfall. Some wind and a lot of lightning. As far as the rotation is concerned, we are still seeing that couplet here. This is hanging right along the Montgomery-Powell County border here. And really the rotation, the strongest part of this cell is just south. So we're talking northern parts of Powell County where we're seeing this rotation set up. And it's intensified over the last couple scans. In fact, if we go back and we play this loop, over the last 30 minutes, you can see how the rotation really started to tighten up just west of the Mountain Parkway. And then as it crossed north of Clay City, that rotation really started to tighten up, become a little bit stronger. And as it did so, you can see the reds and greens lining up together with velocity that's indicative of a storm that's rotating. National Weather Service has been watching this, been keeping an eye on chat, and sure enough, we did get a tornado warning that was issued, and this again goes until 7:45 p.m. This tornado warning is in place until 7:45 p.m. Again, western Menifee County, northern parts of Powell County, far southern parts of Montgomery County. If you're in these areas, these are the zones we really need to watch closely. So folks there in northern parts of Powell County, likely a good idea to go ahead and get into your safe place. The rotation now just crossed over Morris Creek Road, strongest part of this cell, right along the Montgomery-Powell County line. This is moving east and northeastward. I'm going to check chat here to see if we have any reports, any confirmed reports coming in. We're getting some reports now of some pea-sized hail in Jeffersonville. We just talked about the possibility of that. You get in part of the supercell here. You see the reds, the pinks, a lot of lightning showing up. This storm is really intensifying. So it's not only going to bring that torrential rainfall, but also some hail showing up, and now we're confirming that with the National Weather Service. The latest scan continues to show that this is tightening a bit more. This is crossing, looks like the KY corridor 213. So folks there, Morris Creek Road, strongest part of this cell, again, rotating part of this cell now is east of you. We zoom in a little bit closer. Hatcher Creek Road, rotation is over this area right now. So if you're in and around this community, right along the Powell County, Montgomery County line, good idea to go ahead and get into your safe place here. This storm has been showing that rotation. The couplet has been tightening up, and this rotation is riding the Powell-Montgomery County line. As you can see, again, the reds and greens lining up together. This is our concern for what could be a potential brief spin-up tornado. We've had an eye on this over the last 15-20 minutes. Again, it's been showing some rotation since passing through central Kentucky. This cell has been showing some signs of rotation since it passed through Nicholasville earlier this evening, and in southern parts of Fayette County, moving into northern Madison County, and then it really started to intensify in eastern Clark County. Folks there had some heavy rainfall, some gusty winds, and then we had a merger where two cells merged together, and that helped intensify this cell. And once that happened, it really allowed this storm to take off a little bit more, grow a little stronger, and that rotation became a little tighter, and that's when we got the tornado warning. So let's loop back over here and show you the last 15 minutes or so. Rotation is there. Red and greens are lined up. This is hugging the Powell County, Montgomery County line. So if you're in and around these areas, southern Montgomery County, far northern parts of Powell County, get into your safe place. This rotation is heading over your area now, right along the Powell County, Montgomery County line. We zoom out. Folks there in western Menifee County, far southern Bath County, we need to watch this cell. It does look like rotation still there. At one point was a little tighter, but maybe we're seeing some broader rotation now. Again, we're going to be on air with this cell, tracking it until the tornado warning has dropped. Let me check chat here to make sure we don't have any other reports coming in from the National Weather Service in Jackson, Kentucky. They do have some eyes on the storm. Radar structure continues to improve. Pea-sized hail being reported. And still seeing some of that rotation on radar. This is our concern. This is the area of concern with this cell. Right along the Montgomery-Powell County line, it is tracking north and eastward. So if you're in and around these communities in far southeastern Montgomery County, far northeastern Powell County, far western Menifee County, need to get to your safe place. This storm has been showing rotation at times. That rotation has tightened up over the last 15 minutes. We're still seeing just that as this cell continues to track north and eastward. You can see as we play back here, that rotation started. Tornado warning was issued. This was just west of the Mountain Parkway. Really tightened up as it moved over the parkway just north of Clay City, and now it's been hugging the Montgomery-Powell County line. So this is the area of concern here. Let's switch back to radar. We'll pause this. Frenchburg, projected time for this cell, the rotating part of this storm, 7:46 p.m. This warning continues until 7:45 p.m. So we're going to watch it, see how this rotation, if it does, try to tighten back up. And if it does, the National Weather Service more than likely will reissue or issue a new tornado warning downstream, and that will likely include more areas north and east of Frenchburg. So again, watching this cell closely. Go back to velocity, not as tight as what it once was, especially when this tornado warning was first issued, but it has been showing some rotation and still is. So we're more than likely going to keep this warning as is until 7:45 or until the National Weather Service decides to drop this. See if we got any other confirmed reports. Let's go back. We're going to pull up. Let's go to our debris detector here. This is a good indicator for us here for what could be a tornado on the ground. When you see values start to drop, it can be an indicator that there is a tornado on the ground picking up some debris. And it does look like that we did have a CC drop earlier. Let's point this out. This was just west of the Mountain Parkway. This was right before the National Weather Service issued that warning. Then that warning was issued. Okay, thanks. Let's go back to velocity. Same area that was circled. You're seeing that rotation. Remember, reds and greens start to line up together, indicative of a storm rotating. We go over to our debris detector, and where that rotation is lining up, you're getting values on our debris detector that are starting to drop off, which could very well mean that a spin up has made it to the ground, tornadoes on the ground, and possibly lofting up some debris. Don't have any confirmed reports of that yet. But looking at some of reports coming in now, and it looks like this storm is maintaining its rotation. Now hugging more of the Powell County, Montgomery County line. Now moving into western Menifee County. Spas Creek Road. If you live in and around these communities, Cornwell, western, far western Menifee County, far southeastern Montgomery County, far northeastern Powell County. If you're in and around these areas, you need to get to your safe place. This storm has been showing rotation. We have a signature, a hook here, indicators from a radar standpoint, from a debris detector standpoint. It is possible that we have had a spin up touch the ground, lofting some debris. Again, no confirmed reports on that just yet, but it does look like this cell has certainly been capable of doing so. Hang tight, folks, checking some more reports here. Looks like the Weather Service trimming some of this warning. Good call from the folks there in Jackson. Clay City, it's raining, but the strongest part of this cell, this tornado warned cell, is east of you. You folks are in the clear. If you're in Stanton, you're in the clear. South of Jeffersonville, folks in Jeffersonville, the strongest part of this cell south of you. Along 460, far southeast, Montgomery County, far northeastern Powell County, this is the area of concern. These are the areas where we need to get into our safe place. The storm's been showing rotation, and we're still seeing just that, although a little more broad, but the rotation is still there. So we need to treat this as a cell that has been or potentially produced a spin-up tornado, and we need to get into our safe place as this cell tracks north and eastward. Looks like they have trimmed some of Bath County out of that. Still looking for some reports. It does appear that this storm is cycling near the Menifee, Powell, Montgomery County border here. So we're going to see if this storm will start to cycle, re-strengthen, and get that rotation back. That's a concern. If so, that's going to keep this tornado warning active as we continue into western parts of Menifee County. So we're going to see what this cell does. When you look at velocity imagery here, rotation is still there, certainly a lot more broad than what it was. Not as tight as of a rotation couplet as what we did see about 15-20 minutes ago. Notice how that rotation, when that warning was first issued, that rotation's much tighter. Here's a good example. This was just north of Clay City. Tornado warning was issued about the time we went on air. You can see the reds and greens pretty close together there. And again, good indicator for those storms, or for this storm that is starting to strengthen and showing that rotation. We continue to loop, taking it over the last 15-20 minutes. You can see rotation still there, but broadening a bit. That's good news. But now the question becomes, the storm is starting to cycle a bit, so we could get back into some more rotation and a tightening couplet within the next 5 to 10 minutes. So we got to keep an eye on this cell and continue to track it out with you folks as we continue through the first part of this evening. Now, as far as the rest of the area is concerned, this is the warning we have across central, southern, and eastern Kentucky. Just some isolated downpours across portions of central, east Kentucky, along the Parkway. That's all we're seeing. Now, we've had some stronger storms that we were keeping an eye on across our southwestern communities. Folks there in Casey County, Liberty, down towards Somerset, getting in on more than likely good thunderstorm here. But as far as potential rotation is concerned, wasn't looking as good as what it once did about 10 minutes ago. And yeah, now that storm still packing some breezy winds and heavy rainfall, but not showing that strength like it was earlier. And it did have some weak rotation noted with it. So this is the cell it's all eyes on right now. Tornado warning continues for Menifee County until 7:45 p.m. This includes city of Frenchburg there. And now the strongest part of this cell is working right along the Montgomery, Powell County, and Menifee County line. This is the area of concern here. Rotation has been noted. Let's go back to our velocity imagery here, and a little more broad as far as the rotation is concerned, but it's still there. And that is a concern for us as the storm slides eastward. So, folks there along the Menifee Powell County line, far southeastern Montgomery County line, these are the areas we are concerned about. This is the most dangerous part of the storm. So if you're in line, folks, western Menifee County, you need to get into your safe place. Spas Creek, Hawkins Branch, these areas, this is where we're seeing that rotation now moving over. And again, this supercell cycling a bit. So we do believe we're going to get back into some additional rotation and potentially some couplets that could try and tighten up a bit once again. So this is what we're watching closely. Let's switch over to our CC, our debris detector here, and take this back through a loop. Tornado warning was issued a little after 7. It's been showing signs of some pretty decent rotation, especially early on. Now that rotation has broadened just a bit, but we do believe this cell is cycling and starting to potentially show signs of some more rotation. Folks there in western Menifee County need to get into your safe place. Rotation still being noted on velocity. Along Spas Creek Road, Hidden Hollow Road, these areas you need to get into your safe place. Hawkins Branch, the rotating part of this cell is now moving overhead. And we're going to get a new scan here in just a bit. Rotation is still there. Again, the reds, the greens still aligning next to each other. Again, rotation not as tight as what it once was, but it is still being noted, still there, and now moving into western Menifee County. So folks in far southeastern Montgomery County, Jeffersonville, along 460, means the strongest part of this cell, that rotating part of this storm, is just to your south and east. You guys are now clear. Folks in northern Powell County along the Montgomery County line, strongest part of this rotating cell now clearing your area. It's now moving into western Menifee County. So curious to see here if the Weather Service will issue a new tornado warning for this cell and include more of Menifee County and for folks east of Frenchburg. Again, couplet not looking as tight as what it once was, but we still have that structure here. And there you go. National Weather Service now issues a new tornado warning. This is for a good chunk of Menifee County. This will go until 8:15 p.m. This also includes parts of Morgan County until 8:15 as well. So this is what we're watching closely. And it looks like they clipped far northeastern part of Powell County as well, just because that rotating part of this supercell moving just to our northeast there, clipping far northeastern parts of Powell County. So likely a good call from the National Weather Service on this tornado warning. So we do have a new tornado warning that has been issued from the National Weather Service. This is until 8:15 p.m. This includes Menifee County. This includes parts of Morgan County. This is far western Morgan County, far northern parts of Wolfe County, and then with that rotation hanging just north of the Parkway, far northeastern Powell County included under that tornado warning. That's going to take us until 8:15. This is directly from the National Weather Service here, issuing a new warning for an area of rotation forming on the southern side of the old polygon. That's why we clipped far northeastern parts of Powell County here with this new warning. Storm is cycling and has good structure, so they issued a new warning downstream. Still showing that rotation. The most dangerous part of this storm right now, folks, is right along the Powell County, Menifee County line. Now moving into portions of western Menifee. I think it's safe to say that now. When you look at the rotation, the velocity imagery here on radar, still getting that rotation. It's being noted pretty well. Right along and south of 460. Here's 460, points south of this. That's where the rotation is really noted. And again, the storm is cycling, so we're going to see this rotation try to tighten back up as this cell slides east and northeastward. This tornado warning includes Frenchburg, areas east of Frenchburg. So now you're talking a good chunk of Menifee County under this tornado warning until 8:15 p.m. Far southern Menifee County, you're likely in the safe place right now. The rotation likely hanging to your north. Good news there. Folks along in Stanton, along the Mountain Parkway, more than likely hearing some sirens going off in Powell County. Understand that that is for this cell that is now in western Menifee County. So if you're in Clay City, Stanton, along the Mountain Parkway, areas south of these communities, you're in a safe spot. You guys are all clear. The concern for us is Menifee County Frenchburg. Looks like we're getting some reports here. Potentially a video. Okay. So we got some eyes on the ground. This is from 606 Storm Chasing, Chris Hall, good friend of mine in eastern Kentucky, and just sent me a video showing this storm. Yeah, good rotation, nothing confirmed on ground.
It's not, buddy.
But we do have rotation. So this storm is certainly spinning. Confirmed now through a couple videos. All right, folks, need to get to your safe place. Spas Creek, Hidden Hollow, Hatton Ridge, velocity tightening up a bit. We've had some now confirmed reports of a tornado that has been spinning through these communities. This tornado warning started back just west of Clay City along the Mountain Parkway. We've maintained that rotation for the last 25 minutes or so. So this storm is now cycling. We expect to continue to see more rotation and potentially trying to tighten up a bit more with this supercell as it tracks towards Frenchburg. So folks there in Frenchburg, you need to keep a close eye on things with this cell. Along 460, if you're in this area, in parts of Menifee County, you're fine. You're in the clear. This is heavy rain. This is some pea-sized hail. This is some lightning. The strongest part of this cell is south of 460. Folks there in Cornwell, you're getting a good storm, but the rotating part of this storm is now approaching Hidden Hollow Road. Folks there need to get to your safe place. The storm's moving off towards the east. Rotation has been noted. A couple videos now confirming some reports of what looked to be a weak tornado that was spinning through. Definitely has the movement. Cannot confirm if we've had a touchdown. We have shown you some debris detector, our CC correlation coefficient. It's a special type of radar that we can use that gives us the ability to see if debris is being lofted up in the air. And when you see a CC drop, that can be an indicator of just that. And I did note that possibility west of Parkway, Mountain Parkway, when this warning was first issued. And we've had some of those CC drops showing up. So do believe at times we've had potentially a brief but weak tornado touch down. An example of a CC drop would be right here, where you're getting your velocity imagery. So your reds and greens are lining up together. And then you switch over and you go to your correlation coefficient. Similar area showing that CC drop, a concern where we've potentially had a tornado briefly touch down. So we do believe, based off things that I'm seeing on radar, and now with some confirmed reports from 606 Storm Chase and Chris Hall, some reports that have been passed along to me, a couple videos showing that potential. Need to see if I can get that. New warning is in shoot. Rotation is still being noted. Let's see. Hang tight, folks. Here was some of the video. See if I can get it on screen here. That was showing up. Chris Hall been messaging him. This was in Stanton not long ago. There's your tornado. This is the area of rotation we've been tracking. We've had some CC drops along the way, likely indicating we've had a tornado on the ground at times. Let's let that loop through one more time. Confirmed reports. This is a video sent to me from Chris Hall, 606 storm chasing. This was moving through Stanton, Kentucky earlier. Again, in and around these areas, we did have some CC drops where we believe some debris was being lofted in the air. Good indicator for what could be potential tornado on the ground. And based off some of the video footage there and some of the messages I've been looking at from Chris just over the last couple minutes, more than likely have had a tornado touch down just north of Stanton for a period of time. And if this storm is cycling, this tornado can bounce up, off the ground, get back to the ground. Bounce up, bounce back down. So more than likely, that's what we're dealing with this storm. We'll get back to radar here in just a second. Good video from Chris Hall, 606 storm chasing, showing what is believed to be a tornado that's been on the ground, and that was north of Stanton. Again, when you go back and you look at radar, folks, over the last 45 minutes, that is where that video was shot, just north of Stanton. You're getting your reds, your greens lining up together with velocity indicative of rotation being noted on radar. When you look at our debris detector around that general area where we're seeing those reds and greens line up with your rotation, you get what we call CC drop, likely where debris is being lofted in the air. This was right along the Montgomery-Powell County line. And the video that I just showed you confirming this CC drop. Let's get back to radar. All right, so good news here for folks southern parts of Montgomery County, northern parts of Powell County. That warning has been dropped. And now our focal point becomes folks in Menifee County. And this is a concern right here. City of Frenchburg. Looks like southern parts of Menifee County here, this is going to be the concern. That's where we're seeing that rotation. So this is south of Frenchburg. Hidden Hollow Road, just east of Hidden Hollow Road. If you're in this community, that's where we're seeing some of that rotation. Looks like Amos Ridge Road, McCausey Ridge, Clifton Road. If you're south of 460, these areas, you need to get to your safe place. The storm has been showing signs of rotation, more than likely confirmed some reports with this video footage coming in, showing more than likely that we've had a tornado touchdown. This storm is cycling. We'll continue to track it out. I guess he's
on the line with me.
Oh, okay.
Is that a yes?
And
With her?
up to him.
Up to you. All right. Okay. 25 minutes.
All right. Well, sorry about that, folks. Area of concern, Menifee County. Tornado warning continues until 8:15 p.m. This is our concern. And when you zoom things out, folks, this is the only storm that we're concerned about across all of central and east Kentucky. Now, we have some storms back to our west that we've been keeping an eye on. And at times, they were showing some stronger winds, a little bit of weak rotation at times, but that seemed to drop off. But we're seeing a little more lightning with this cell. Maybe this is pulsing up a bit more, getting a little stronger. So folks there, Casey County, looks like just west and southwest of Stanford. So you're getting into Houstonville right now. Let's look at our velocity imagery. Not seeing anything of concern at the moment, but certainly packing some heavy rain, more than likely some breezy winds and a lot of lightning showing up for folks there. This storm's working in Houston. Now, we zoom things out, just some isolated downpours. That's our concern across central and east Kentucky. Again, we have one warning, active warning, and it's for areas in Menifee County. Let's switch our radar here, get a better scan on this storm. Still seeing this signature here. Area of rotation, this is our concern. This is south of Frenchburg, south of 460. If you're in Frenchburg, along 460, Ariba, Denniston, these communities, you need to get to your safe place. We're still seeing rotation. Strongest part of that rotation now, sliding just south of the city of Frenchburg, just south of 460. These are the areas where you need to get into your safe place. So folks, Tar Ridge Road, Windy Ridge Road, Ariba, Denniston, these communities along 460. Strongest part of this cell, the rotating part of this storm, is tracking eastward. You need to get into your safe place as this storm moves overhead. Strongest part of this cell, tracking eastward, just south of the city of Frenchburg in Menifee County. Folks along 460 need to get into their safe place. Tar Ridge, Mariba, Denniston, along 460, these are the areas of concern. Still seeing a good signature here too, folks. Rotation still being noted. See if we have any other confirmed reports. Let me pull up chat, folks. Hang tight. South side of Frenchburg is our concern with this cell. More than likely, Frenchburg, areas north of where we're seeing this rotation. Let's go back to no lapse here. Rotating part of this cell, this is our concern right here. That's the area we're worried about as far as this potential tornado dropping back down. We have had reports, some video evidence showing a tornado that had passed just north of Stanton. Video footage showing just that. Okay. Tornado concern remains for Menifee County. Folks south of Frenchburg, along 460. Along 460. Folks there in Denniston need to get to your safe place. Rotation still evident. A lot of lightning showing up at this cell as well, folks. So more than likely, on the northern side of where we're seeing this rotation with the supercell, folks there in Frenchburg, a lot of lightning, likely getting in on some small hail and torrential rainfall. But the rotating part of this cell, the most dangerous part of this storm, is just south of the city of Frenchburg. Looks like we are also getting another report of a cold air funnel being spotted in behind this cell. Not tornadic, but a couple photos coming in of a cold air funnel being reported. Far southeastern Montgomery County, right along the Powell County, Montgomery County line. Just in from the National Weather Service. Let's go back and loop this a little bit here, folks. Still seeing this storm cycle. Cyclone continues with this supercell. Rotation still being noted. Most dangerous part of this storm remaining just south of the city of Frenchburg. But folks along 460, Tar Ridge Road, eastward towards Denniston, need to get to your safe place. This is where we're seeing that rotation. It has been evident. Area of concern just south of Frenchburg. This is sliding eastward along 460. This is the only active warning, folks, that we have across central and eastern Kentucky. We are starting to see this cell intensify a bit. This is far northeastern Casey County. Folks there in Houstonville right now getting in on a pretty good storm. A lot of lightning, a lot of heavy rainfall. Doesn't seem to be much more than that right now. That's good news. More than likely, heavy rain, noisy thunderstorm there. Some breezy winds. More isolated downpour activity across central Kentucky, but nothing severe. Again, our main concern, folks, remains the single warning that we have. This is a tornado warning that remains in place for a good chunk of Menifee County until 8:15 p.m. Includes the city of Frenchburg. Strongest part of this storm, and that rotation, the most dangerous part, is just south of Frenchburg. Folks there in Mariba along 460 eastward towards Denniston need to get into your safe place. Storm's been showing, has a history of rotation. We've had some video footage that has been shared with us from 606 Storm Chasing Chris Hall, showing a possible tornado that was moving just north of Stanton earlier when this warning was issued. The storm continues to cycle and continues to show more rotation. Folks in Frenchburg along 460 getting a good storm. But the dangerous part of this storm is just south of you. That's where we're seeing this rotation. Let's switch back over, go to our velocity imagery. Getting some lightning starting to pulse up around this rotation. That could be a sign that we're starting to strengthen things up once again. Folks there in Mariba, eastward towards Denniston along 460. These areas, if you're in these communities, you need to get into your safe place. This is the most dangerous part of this cell, this storm. See if we have any new reports. Not hearing of any damage. Checking for more reports. Not hearing anything on the National Weather Service side. Not hearing anything from 606 Storm Chasing. That's good news. But this storm has certainly been showing signs of pretty good rotation and some video footage showing what possibly was a tornado moving just north of Stanton. Let's see. All right, let's get a check here on this, folks. Velocity imagery. Rotation looking a little more broad than what it once was. That's good news. Storm, from a radar standpoint, looks to be weakening some. And that overall severe potential today was really low, folks. But we had just enough spin in the atmosphere with a weak warm frontal boundary nearby with a low spinning into the region. The threat was low, but it was a possibility. And this is why we had that low end severe potential for today. Haven't had much in terms of other storms or severe storms. We've had a handful of strong storms working across the area. But this storm was fairly unique. We had a couple cells that merged, one with a cell that had been showing signs of rotation for a couple hours, but never really materialized anything more than that. Two cells merged together, strengthened that cell, and then rotation really started to tighten up, and did so just west of the Mountain Parkway, west of Stanton, Powell County. Storm still showing some of that rotation there, folks. You can see the loop here showing that tornado warning that was issued. And you can see the difference here. The rotation is still being noted right now. But along the Mountain Parkway and just north of Stanton, that rotation was much tighter. And that video footage that I showed earlier was just north of Stanton at what could possibly be a weak tornado that touched down. That continued to slide eastward along the Montgomery-Powell County line, moving into western Menifee County. Rotation was still being noted. New tornado warning was issued downstream. Lightning still there. Rotation still there, not as tight as what it once was. But still need to keep an eye on this. Okay. Let's see. Where was that? No audio, you said, right? Okay. Okay. Oh. Do have some new video footage being sent to us. Going to try and get that on air for you guys to show you more of what we've been tracking over the last 45, 55 minutes. Hang tight, going to try and get this up for you guys. Rotation still being noted. So folks, they're along 460 area of concern right here. New scan coming in along 460 is where we're seeing this rotation. Not as tight as what it once was, but folks along 460 eastward getting into Denniston. In Menifee County along 460, you need to get into your safe place now. This is the area of concern. Rotation still being noted on radar. Tornado warning continues for Menifee County until 8:15. We have 14 minutes left on this tornado warning. Again, rotation right along 460 and moving eastward. That is our concern. Looks like we're starting to get some damage reports rolling in now. Lower Cane Creek, damage has been reported. Nothing else as of now. Okay. Check the National Weather Service chat, folks. Hang tight. Looks like some new information's coming in. Just a moment. Let's try this. Latest showing that rotation now right along 460. Folks there in Denniston, if you're in this community, need to get into your safe place. This is where the latest scan is showing that rotation that's being noted between Mariba and Denniston. That is our area of concern, folks. If you're north of this, Frenchburg, you're in the clear. Strongest part of that storm is now east of you. Not seeing anything of concern with the storms back to our west. Additional rain likely moving in for some of the areas that have been dealing with this storm. Cornwall, Means, rain's finishing up there. You guys, western Menifee County, are in the clear. Folks in Frenchburg, in the clear. Strongest part of this storm, this tornado warning cell, is now east of the city. Our concern right now is right along 460. Folks there in Denniston need to get to your safe place. Let's see, maybe that. Okay. All right, here's some, see if I can get this on air to you guys. Some storm photos here. This is in Stanton, Kentucky. Miranda. And this is where that part of the storm really did show an area of tighter rotation. You can see the inflow there with that supercell. Good footage there. All right, let's get back to the storm, folks. Latest velocity imagery, not looking as impressive as it once was. And that rotation, since entering western Menifee County, was much tighter now, beginning to weaken. A little more broad. And still there. And it looks like the National Weather Service just issued a new tornado warning. This will take us until 8:45 p.m. This now includes West Liberty and a chunk of Morgan County. This is going to go until 8:45 p.m. Concern right now, folks there in Denniston, strongest part of this cell is tracking to you right now. If you're in Denniston along 460, most dangerous part of this cell is tracking overhead. That's where we're seeing that current rotation. Need to get to your safe place now, along 460. Folks there in Artville, up towards Korea. Some communities east, 26, Licking River. The strongest part of this cell now tracking towards you. And you are included in this new tornado warning that has been issued by the National Weather Service in Jackson, Kentucky, until 8:45 p.m. When we zoom things out, this is the only active warning that we have. Only other area of concern, some stronger storms that have pulsed up a bit more back to our west. Folks there in Danville, Lancaster, got some rain and storms heading your way. Stanford, Houstonville, been dealing with some very heavy rainfall, some lightning, some breezy winds. Folks there, Crab Orchard, and even getting into northern parts of Pulaski County. We've had some downpours. Strongest part of this storm, though, looks to be working through Houstonville, just west of Stanford, up towards Danville, near Junction City. Let's turn on our velocity imagery here to see if there's any concern as far as potential rotation showing up with this. Let's lapse it over the last 30 minutes. Not seeing a big concern with this cell, so good news there. But we're going to keep an eye on it. It has been showing some signs of some rotation, and it did earlier this evening. It was just outside of our area, just west of Russell Springs along the Cumberland Parkway. That was a concern for us, but that storm began to weaken out. But now it's moving into an area where we've had some storm fuel build up, some warmth. We got plenty of moisture out there. So these storms moving into an environment where they have a little juice to work with, and because of that, we're seeing some storms start to strengthen a little bit more. So folks there in Stanford, good storm heading your way. There's nothing severe currently with this storm, but it is going to pack some winds, some rain, some lightning. Folks there in Lancaster along 27, just east of Danville now, some heavy rain working your way. We jog up to the north. Folks there in Nicholasville along 27, you picked up on some heavy rain earlier from a cell that actually merged with this current tornado warning back to our east. But that is the only active warning we have right now for central and east Kentucky. Let's get back to the tornado warning. Let's get the latest scan, show you what we're tracking. Looks like we're getting some development ahead of this cell. That can sometimes help the situation, weaken things a bit, ingesting some rain-cooled air. Switch over to our velocity. Still seeing some rotation. Certainly not as tight as what it once was. Much more broad. But again, our focal point along 460. This has kind of been the hot spot over the last 15 minutes or so. South of Frenchburg along and south of 460 when it entered Menifee County. And that rotating part of the storm, the most dangerous part of this cell, has been hanging across southern parts of Menifee County along 460, south of the city of Frenchburg, and then right along 460 along where we're seeing the community of Denniston. Folks there in Artville, you need to get to your safe place right now, and the surrounding communities, this is where we're seeing that rotation at. Again, you're getting the greens next to the reds on velocity. That's an indicator that we're getting some rotation in our atmosphere. Switch back over to radar. Looking a little more messy. Good news in terms of losing some of this strength this cell has. Tornado warning continues. This is now for eastern parts of Menifee County. Along 460, that's an area of concern. Looks like a new scan just rolled in. Rotation certainly not like it was. Velocity imagery is showing much broader rotation. Good news there. Let's lapse back. We've been on air this warning for about an hour now. Some of the strongest rotation with this cell was noted as it approached the Mountain Parkway right here. This is western Powell County, just north and west of Clay City. We've had some CC drops, some debris detector. Our specific radar show the possibility of a touchdown. Now, we can't confirm that. We are getting some damage reports that are starting to roll in. But to confirm that, the National Weather Service there in Jackson will have to survey damage to verify that. But looking at radar trends and debris detector, our correlation coefficient, our specialized radar, there's some signs saying that this could have briefly touched down. And when looking at radar and analyzing this, when this tornado warning was issued, there's a good chance that happened in parts of Powell County, just north of Clay City, north of Stanton, as it approached the Montgomery-Powell County line. Rotation was evident, still pretty tight as it worked into western Menifee County. Started to approach the city of Frenchburg, areas along 460 there. Continued to track eastward. Rotating part of that cell hung just south of Frenchburg. And now notice as it moves into eastern parts of Menifee County, that rotation much more broad and much weaker. Good news there. Switch back over to our radar. Looks a little more messy. Looks like we got some cells that are popping ahead of this cell, more than likely ingesting some rain-cooled air. And that's going to help weaken this cell some more. It's been cycling though. This has been a pretty strong supercell. Had a merger. We had two cells come together. It strengthened, intensified. Rotation was there. Rotation got stronger. And now this rotation, as it moves into eastern Menifee County, not as strong as what it once was. But still, need to keep an eye on this one. Let me check latest reports, see if the National Weather Service in Jackson has any new details on this cell. We had a rotating wall cloud that was reported on McCossey Ridge and Frenchburg. That was a little earlier. Rotation worked eastward along 460 into Denniston. Keeping a close eye on this cell. And again, this does not look like it did about 15 minutes ago. Rotation is much weaker. Looks like we've had some additional cells pop ahead of this cell. Rain-cooled air has been ingested to weaken this storm some. So we're not seeing the rotation like we once was. Still broad, but still there. Can't ignore this. Far eastern Menifee County, right along 460. You're still seeing your greens here, some of your reds, indicative of some rotation. Still broad, but it's still there. So we got to watch this cell as it continues to track off towards the east. Only active warning we have right now across the area. Looks like storms back getting into central Kentucky now along the I-75 corridor, starting to intensify a bit more. These storms looked stronger just outside of our coverage area, weakened a bit, had a little rotation noted. Hasn't shown much of that since, but let's get a check on these. Not seeing a whole lot in terms of rotation. That's good news. But these are pretty strong storms. We're packing some gusty winds, a lot of lightning, and some pockets of torrential rainfall. So folks there along 27, Nicholasville, likely getting some more rain now as we speak. You had some heavier rain earlier today. And then you jog southward along 27, getting into Lancaster. This is east of Danville now. Stanford, heavy rain, lightning, down to Crab Orchard. Seeing more of that in Brodhead, closer to Mount Vernon. This is just west of I-75. Folks there in far northern Pulaski County picking up on some rain. But outside of that, that is our only concern with some stronger storms outside of the active warning we have right now to our east. Let's switch over, get back to our velocity. Not seeing the rotation like we once did. Again, good news, but the warning continues, and this is until 8:45 p.m. This does include the city of West Liberty and surrounding communities. Frenchburg, you're in the clear. Denniston along 460, you're in the clear. Strongest part of the storm now is entering eastern Menifee County, heading towards Morgan County. National Weather Service noting that this rotation is more broad, but we'll continue to monitor. And I think that's a good call. Peyton just walked in. He's in studio with me now. Peyton, we had some footage, some video shown. I'm going to work to get that on air for us. But we did have some footage, some radar, CC drops, possible brief touchdown.
Where was that at, do you know?
That was just north of Stanton.
Stanton, okay. So I'll give you a break. You can try to find some of that video, and I'll take over for just a second. All right, just to recap things again, I'm just getting eyes on things really quickly here. But as Chris has been talking about, we do have a tornado warning continuing for portions of eastern Menifee County and now working into portions of Morgan County right now as we speak as well. This goes until 8:45. Chris was just talking about some of what the National Weather Service office down there in Jackson was saying. He mentioned how all the rotation remains very broad at this point, so it's not as tight of a couplet as it once was, but it looks like it is going through a different cycle here of things, and so we're going to continue to watch the storm cycle through, and there's always the potential for it to strengthen back in the next little bit. So they're continuing to have that tornado warning going. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the velocity here, and then I'll get a look at some of the communities. Again, it's been pretty much riding along US 460 here between Frenchburg and now working into eastern portions of Menifee County and into portions of Morgan County, about to cross that county line in the next little bit. Again, not a lot of rotation. The couplet's not as tight as it once was. In fact, I want to kind of go back about, let's see, an hour or so and just show you some comparing what it looked like a little bit ago. So we'll show you that here. When the warning was first issued, even back when it was just north of Stanton there, you can see where the reds and greens come together there on the map. I'm going to circle that here so it's easier to see. But you can see where the reds and greens were coming together. That's what it once looked like. And then as we've gone throughout the past hour or so, it held together for a little bit as it crossed into Menifee County, and then it's kind of diminished over the past little bit. So we're still seeing some of that broad rotation right now at the moment, but it's not nearly as impressive as it looked earlier. Now, I do want to show you, though, the radar is still detecting a little bit of rotation right now as we look at the shear and show you what the rotation looks like pretty much now just north of 460, and it looks like in some very rural areas here. So if you're in Korea or Artville, Dan, Eben, those are Ezell. Those are some, I apologize if I'm pronouncing some of these wrong, but again, these are some of the small communities out here about to cross Artville Road here, if you're out in those areas. So again, very rural areas at this point. And again, the rotation not as impressive as it once was. If there is any rotation, it would be right in here, but it's not as tight of a couplet at this point, where you see a little bit of this red right here and a little bit of the green right here. That would be where we could see potentially a tornado. Right now, again, doesn't look like much, but we're going to continue to monitor it as the Weather Service keeps the warning going. Trying to look here at some of what they are saying in the chat. I know we did possibly have some damage earlier just to the north of Stanton, as Chris was talking about moments ago. Still seeing some lightning with this, and even the thunderstorm itself doesn't look like the structure we saw just a little bit earlier. It's kind of just at this point, for lack of a better term, a blob at this point. Earlier, we saw a little bit of a hook on there where we were seeing some of that rotation in the thunderstorm, and that has since kind of dissipated. But again, the Weather Service is noting the cell is kind of going through a merging cycle at this point. And so we noticed, Chris was talking about it a little bit ago, we had some rain firing up out ahead of the cell. Well, notice that's kind of dissipating at this point, and you see the cell kind of going back into into a stronger cell at this point. Now, again, rotation not as strong as it once was, so that's some good news. But still, if you're on that Menifee-Morgan County line here, again, the rotation was on the southern side of this cell here, but if you're on that Morgan-Menifee County line, especially right in this area where I'm circling, that's where the potential for some rotation would be, is right in here. And I named some of those smaller communities there, including Artville at this point, Korea, Dan, Eben. Let's see, I'm trying to see if there's any other roads. Again, a lot of this is Higgins Cemetery Road. Again, so a very rural area here with not a lot of homes and things, so that's some good news. But if you're down in these areas, especially as this crosses into Morgan County, be in your safe spot. It's better to be safe than sorry at this point. And the Weather Service now just mentioning they are noticing that downward trend, which is some good news there. That's obviously what we hope for. Chris, any luck on the video just yet?
No luck there, but just like you said, they're noticing that downward trend. Also, was looking at radar just briefly. These storms, nothing severe at the moment, but they have noted that wind gusts upwards to 40 miles per hour going to be a possibility. And
are you talking about Garrett County and
yep,
that other cluster?
This is the storms working into Garrett County. So folks there in Lancaster, you got some breezy winds, some heavy rainfall working your way. And these cells earlier, Peyton, we're showing some rotation. It was very weak, but it was noted. That since dropped off, but now these storms kind of moving into an environment, and they've started to strengthen. And we're seeing that trend continue. So I think these are a couple cells that we're going to have to watch closely as this storm moves into and through Garrett County.
Yeah, for sure. We'll continue to watch those. As you said, they're kind of working in that untapped environment. If you didn't notice outside today, it's very muggy. So we definitely have a little bit of fuel out there and just enough spin in the atmosphere that there is the potential for a quick spin up tornado. And that's possibly what we've seen here. That was just to the north of Stanton earlier with this cell that is warned now for portions of Menifee over into Morgan County. Again, the good news here, what we've kind of been saying actually, it looks like they're going to allow that warning to drop. So that's some good news there. That warning now for portions of Menifee back into Morgan County has been canceled. So that is some good news. At least it looks that way. I'm going to go ahead. Yes. So this storm here has weakened below severe limits. So that is some very good news. Again, that storm Menifee working into Morgan County, we're going to give you the all clear for now. Now, I do want to emphasize, still stay weather aware because there is still some of that potential for this to pulse back up once again, and we'll continue to monitor it. But National Weather Service office out in Jackson, Kentucky there went ahead and canceled that tornado warning for Menifee into Morgan County. So that is some good news as we are seeing some weakening. Okay, while Chris is trying to get some of that video really quickly, I just want to recap what we're seeing across the area. Everything at this point is not severe at this time now that that warning has been canceled. So that's some good news there. And then, of course, we'll try to get you back to programming in just a moment. But we are going to continue to watch, as Chris was talking about, these storms out here working into portions of Garrett, Rockcastle County, even southern Jessamine County there, right along the Kentucky River. These storms have been increasing in intensity over the past little bit. So we're going to continue to monitor those. And again, no severe thunderstorm warning at this point for these. However, we're going to continue to watch it. And really quickly, I want to recap on this storm here that the tornado warning was just canceled for. We'll go back about 2 hours and show you when that storm was or when that warning was first issued here, when it was just to the north of Stanton. Again, that was earlier when we saw that. This was at around 7 o'clock or so, or just after 7 o'clock. And you can see just north of Stanton how impressive that rotation looked at that time. And then it pretty much, as it rode 460 through Menifee County, it pretty much fell apart. And then now that tornado warning is now canceled. So that is some good news there. And we'll continue to watch these storms, but it has weakened quite considerably here. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Again, really quickly, we're going to continue to watch these storms out working into from Lincoln into Garrett County because those look like they're intensifying just a little bit. But for now, let's go ahead and send things back to programming. Of course, if we need to cut back in for any severe weather, we will make sure to do so. It is now 8:27 on this Tuesday evening. And again, again, we'll continue to keep you covered as the evening goes on. Right now, though, no warnings across our area at the moment. That tornado warning for portions of Menifee and Morgan County has been canceled, which is some good news. We'll continue to monitor any of these other storms, though, as we go throughout the night. Stick around. We'll go ahead and send things back to programming. And then again, if another warning is issued, we'll make sure to cut in.
From Fox 56 News, the Weather Authority, this is a severe weather alert.
All right, everyone, meteorologist Chris Johnson here. Unsettled forecast rolls on tonight, tracking another cell tornado warning issued for parts of Morgan County until 10:15 p.m. This also includes a chunk of northern Johnson County until 10:15 as well. This cell has been showing some signs of some rotation over the last 15-20 minutes. Relatively weak in nature, but it has showed a couple scans where things have tightened up a bit. Because of that, the National Weather Service there in Jackson has now issued a tornado warning. And again, this will take us till 10:15. When you look at velocity here, it's not overly impressive as far as rotation is concerned, especially when you compare it to what we had earlier this evening with that tornado warned cell that moved through portions of Powell County and Menifee County. Not seeing a rotation like that. However, it is there, it is noted, but it's certainly not the tight rotation that we were tracking earlier. So good news there. We're going to keep an eye on that cell, that tornado warning again, going until 10:15 p.m. Let's talk about what's going on across the area, though. We have more showers and more storms that have been showing up across central Kentucky, and some of these on the stronger side. Now, we're not talking about any severe warnings with the activity right now here in central Kentucky, so good news there. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. Hang tight with me. Let me turn on a couple things here with my radar so I can live track for you. But we've been watching these storms moving into central Kentucky over the last 30-45 minutes. And they've intensified. Again, they're moving into an environment that's somewhat unstable. We got a lot of moisture to work with. We have some storm fuel to work with that we were able to manage and build up through today, especially this afternoon, early evening, with some of the sunshine out there. So that's helped some of the storms fire up a little bit more. All right, let's take a look at some of the activity here in central Kentucky. Again, nothing severe with the storms working across central Kentucky. This includes folks there in Versailles, northern Woodford County, some heavier rainfall showing up. But no warning with that. As far as more rain is concerned, folks there in western, southern parts of Scott County, this activity working towards you. So if you're in and around Georgetown, expect some thunderstorms, some periods of heavier rainfall to start knocking on the door here in just a little bit. Right here on the east side of Lexington, we got a cell that's going up, producing some heavier downpours right now. But again, nothing severe with this activity. Folks there along 27 riding into Paris, Bourbon County. Some heavy rainfall, some lightning. That's about all we're seeing. Some gusty winds showing up with these cells as well, especially northern parts of Madison County, working into southern Clark County, and then areas east, getting closer to some of the hard-hit areas over there in western Powell County. That's where we had that tornado warning cell we were tracking earlier this evening. A little further south, just east of I-75, around Sand Gap, points north of that, we're seeing another strong storm. Not severe, but it is packing some gusty winds, some heavy rainfall, and some isolated development showing up just to our east. Folks there getting into, say, southern Menifee County, picking up on a downpour. As far as the warnings are concerned across the entire area, central and east Kentucky, it's just this lone cell here. The National Weather Service in Jackson issued a severe thunderstorm warning on this cell initially, but it's been showing some areas of rotation, and that rotation tightened up just a little bit more. And because of that, that prompted the tornado warning that they just issued. Let's take a look at velocity here and see what kind of rotation we're trying to work with as far as this cell is concerned. Again, nothing like what we had earlier this evening with that stronger cell that moved through portions of Powell County, getting into Menifee County. But do note that the rotation is there slightly. When you get the reds and the greens that start to line up next to each other, that's indicative as far as this type of radar, this velocity image that you're looking at, for some rotation that's showing up with this cell. So we got to watch this one closely and continue to keep an eye on it as this cell continues to track more towards the east and northeast. Again, this is for portions of tornado warning for Johnson County. This goes until 10:15 p.m. and of course back to our east for portions of eastern and northeastern Johnson County until 10:15. This tornado warning will continue, and we're going to stay live on air tracking out the latest with this storm as far as what's ahead. Let's move back home, and we're going to walk through the forecast here and talk about some of the things that we're expecting as far as another round of some showers and storms to take over as we head into your Wednesday. This is part of a pretty busy forecast, an unsettled pattern that we've been in over the last 4 to 5 days. It has brought much needed rainfall, no doubt about that. But we've had repeated amounts of rain, in some cases some localized flooding issues, and do believe that's going to be a possibility once again midweek. Here's the reason why. We have this stalled out boundary, a lot of moisture surging in from the south, and then we have a cold front that's going to make its move southward into this unstable air mass, this environment, getting into our Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday evening. As that happens, well, that's going to bring the chance for numerous showers and thunderstorms that eventually develop and take off, working through your Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday evening. This is part of the next big thing we've been tracking out for you. Much needed rainfall, but unfortunately running into some stronger storms as far as this evening is concerned, and believe that's going to be possible once again for Wednesday. So let's walk you through it. Overnight tonight, do believe this boundary starts to slowly lift towards the north a bit. So it's a focal point for some additional development late tonight, especially getting into Wednesday morning. More spotty showers, maybe a few storms on the table. So we got to keep an eye on things overnight tonight. Here's what happens though. That boundary washes out. Environment in place tomorrow afternoon. We're going to start to heat things up. We got plenty of moisture in place. Cold front diving in from the north, pushing southward, interacting with that environment, and looky there. We're going to be talking about some numerous thunderstorms that likely develop and take off ahead of this boundary as it tracks east-southeastward. And do believe tomorrow afternoon, early tomorrow evening, could be some stronger storms in play here. We're talking about gusty winds, heavy rainfall, some lightning, and if we can heat up tomorrow afternoon, break out a little more in the way of sunshine, believe there could be some hell as far as a storm threat as well. So that's some things we got to keep an eye on as far as that setup is concerned moving into midweek. As far as rainfall potential is concerned, a lot of areas been dealing with a lot of rain over the last 4 to 5 days, and with the rain chances ahead, we are going to start to trend drier, okay, over the next few days. Good news there, but still talking about amounts that could range between 1/4 up to 3/4 of an inch of rain. Now, if you get caught in some of the stronger storms, or some storms that start to track over the same area as we work through tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, that could give way to amounts ranging between 1 upwards to 2 inches, leading to what could be some localized flooding issues. So we get past our rain and storm chance Wednesday. We're going with a high right now around 80 degrees. Scattered showers and storms likely, some heavy rain at times, some stronger storms a possibility. We'll trend somewhat drier late week. Notice temperatures still warm Thursday, upper 70s Friday. Few showers try to hang on across our southern communities into the start of the weekend, but things do look to get a little bit better, and we'll start to feel a little bit better as well as we get rid of this muggy air mass, this unstable air mass, and we bring in some drier, more pleasant air. Look what happens. Wednesday, Thursday, still feeling the muggies, and then a downward trend. Friday, still there, but a little bit more noticeable as far as that overall feel is concerned, turning a little more pleasant as we work deeper into this weekend. So if you're looking for a break from some of the humidity, well, it's going to show up. And looky here, we're going to dry things out as well. We pull up the precipitation outlook into early June, talking some drier days. So we're going to pull out of what has been a really unsettled pattern over the last 5 to 7 days. We're going to get into some drier weather. So good to see, and also temperature-wise, more pleasant, turning seasonable. So some good things happening for us, and a break from the rain, which we desperately could go for after receiving all the rain that we have over the last 5 to 7 days. All right, let's get back to radar here. Get a check on the latest with our scans across central and east Kentucky. Still tracking out some of those storms working through portions of central Kentucky. See if we can zoom in here. Folks there in and around Mount Sterling, just north of Richmond, some strong storms. Nothing severe with this activity, but we're talking some thunderstorms, some lightning, some heavy rainfall, some gusty winds. That seems to be the main concern with this activity. Let's go back to our east here and get a check on this tornado warning and this cell as it continues to slide east and northeastward. Get a closer look here. This continues until 10:15 p.m. (10:15) continues this tornado warning. This is for portions of northern Johnson County. Let's get a check on the velocity here. I want to see what kind of rotation we're potentially talking about within this cell. Not like it was, and it was on the weaker side when we checked just a few minutes ago, but it still looks like some weak rotation being noted as this storm slides eastward. It looks like folks there, Red Bush, this storm tracking eastward, so Flat Gap. These areas, this tornado warning active. Good idea to go ahead and get into your safe place as this storm slides eastward over the next 5 to 10 minutes. Slow moving, and it's packing some heavy rain and some hail, but even the lightning strikes, we're just not seeing what it once was. So do believe this cell is weakening a bit. And again, the rotation on this cell was never very strong, and it wasn't like what we had earlier this evening with that storm that moved through Powell County and Menifee County. But note, the rotation is still there, showing up just a bit. And this is an area of concern. Folks there in Red Bush, that is what we're watching right now with this cell. Let's zoom things back out. We'll get a check on radar across the area. So right now, the concentration for activity, central Kentucky, nothing severe here. Back into portions of East Kentucky, that tornado warning, that cell continues, and it looks like they're trimming things back. We'll have to get an update there. And then some more development starting to show up back to our south and west, western Pulaski County. Folks there just south and west of Monticello. Get a check with the National Weather Service in Jackson, see if we have any updates and reports on this storm. The tornado warning that is ongoing right now. Again, this warning continues until 10:15 p.m. This is for northern parts of Johnson County. Rotation not as strong as what it once was. Velocity showing just that. See if we have any updated reports on if the National Weather Service continues to keep this warning going, or if they will let this expire a little earlier. No updates from Jackson, it looks like. So we're going to keep this rolling on. Switch back to radar here. This cell just continues to die down. Just not looking like it once did, folks. And that's a good thing. Let's go back and lapse, let's say over 45 minutes, just to give you an idea, okay? Notice how this storm had a lot more lightning with it. All the lightning strikes that were showing up. Even some small hail likely with this cell, where you're seeing those dark reds and some of the pink colors, likely indicating some small hail. And this cell was, at this point, starting to show areas of some rotation. And this was prior to the warning being issued. Then we issued a severe thunderstorm warning. This had a possible tornado tag with it, meaning it has been showing some signs of rotation. We need to watch this cell closely for its structure and the possibility of a tornado. Right here is where rotation really started to tighten up a bit more. Shortly after that, Weather Service issued the tornado warning. But notice what happened here. Since this warning was issued. Rotation was there. Still there. Not as strong. And this is the latest scan. Storm continues the weekend. We're not seeing the lightning like we were. Storm looks much weaker. The rotation, not like it was. Very broad. This warning does continue until 10:15 p.m. for northern Johnson County. Would not be surprised if this warning is let go a little early. We'll keep an eye on it. All right, let's zoom things back out. Let's take a look at some of the storm activity we're seeing across our southern communities. Again, more isolated storms starting to pop up in and around Pulaski County, the Somerset area. So let's take a closer look at these storms and see what we have going on across our southwestern communities. So in and around Somerset, you're dry. It looks like western Pulaski County picking up on a good downpour. Folks there west and southwest of Monticello, just seeing some pockets of some heavier rainfall. Let's switch sites here, see if we can get a better read on these storms. As far as velocity is concerned, just not seeing it. I'm not seeing anything too concerning with this activity south and west of Monticello. Same can be said just west of Somerset. Everything looking okay there. Just maybe a general thunderstorm, some heavy rain. That seems to be the main concern with that activity. So that's good news. Just north of Stanton. If you're in Stanton right now, folks, you're okay. See if we can pop off screen here. Adjust this radar. Okay, sounds good. All right, tornado warning still active. Northern Johnson County until 10:15. Again, still just not seeing the type of rotation that we were once earlier. Still noted, still pretty weak. But yeah, just not there like it was. Let's see if the folks at the National Weather Service in Jackson have updated anything as far as that cell is concerned and the possibility of dropping that. All right. We're going to dance around some more on radar. Keep an eye on some of these storms here in central Kentucky. Again, not seeing a big concern with the activity right now with these storms in central Kentucky. Some wind, some heavy rain, some lightning. Stronger storm right now moving into Irvin. It's like southern parts of Madison County. Southeastern parts of Madison County it was moving from, developing south and southwest, moving now into Irvin. Some heavier rainfall there. Folks in Clay City, Stanton, once again, you're getting in on some stronger storms, but nothing severe with this activity, so good news there. This was part of the area that was hit earlier with that stronger tornado-warned cell. Tornado warning continues for northern Johnson County until 10:15 p.m. We've got a new scan coming in. Let's get a check on this cell. Rotation still looks relatively weak, but that warning continues for northern Johnson County. And the strongest part of this cell, the warning would be right here. So this cell should be moving out of our area over the next 15 minutes or so. And again, that's going to take us close to that warning, that tornado warning that is in line for 10:15 p.m. All right, let's talk a little bit more about the forecast, then we'll get back to radar, get a check on storms, and we will go from there. Speaking of rainfall, the last 24 hours, we've had a good drink of water in some spots across the state. You're talking here in central, western Kentucky, some locations picking up between a ½ inch upwards to an inch of rain. And it's been a pretty good soaker, especially along I-64 and then points west and southwest, 65 and west of that. That's an area that really needed some rainfall. So our southern, southwestern communities dealing with that severe to extreme drought conditions. So it's been good to get in on some of the rainfall. Certainly been needed across the area. As far as flood alerts are concerned, again, areas along I-64, we do have a flood watch out, and this will take us through tomorrow into early Thursday morning. We do believe additional rounds of showers and storms that could pose a really heavy rain threat through tomorrow afternoon could lead to some localized flooding issues. So that's a concern for us moving through tomorrow afternoon. And again, part of the setup, because we have this stationary boundary that's been hanging out across the region, and that in return has provided that spark, that focal point in our atmosphere for the storms that we've had recently. And we do believe that's going to be part of the setup going into your Wednesday to keep those rain and storm chances around. We got a lot of moisture streaming in here with the storms coming in tomorrow, in addition to some storm fuel we'll have to work with. And those two together will give us more storm chances for tomorrow, and do believe some stronger storms will certainly be a possibility as we work through tomorrow afternoon, early tomorrow evening. All right, here's a look at live radar. It looks like the National Weather Service there in Jackson has dropped that tornado warning. So good news there. We just have a severe thunderstorm warning, but that's just outside of our area. Looks like northern Johnson County is in the clear now as far as that tornado warning is concerned. I believe we're going to keep it on here until we go till the 10. Yeah. Okay, so I'm sorry, folks, you're stuck with me for 4 more minutes. Looks like the tornado warning has been canceled, so good news there. Folks there in northern Johnson County, and see, this cell hasn't even exited northern Johnson County yet, and they dropped that tornado warning. Again, the rotation just not there like it once was. Would not be surprised if this severe thunderstorm warning eventually is dropped as well, but that is outside of the Jackson National Weather Service area. That is a different Weather Service office, likely why that is still ongoing there. All right, switch back over. Let's get you to radar and take a look at some of the storms we have ongoing across the area. So right now, no active warnings across our DMA. The tornado warning that was issued has been allowed to expire. We do have some more rain and storms, though, moving through central Kentucky. Folks, northern Woodford County getting into Scott County, just north of the city there in Georgetown, picking up on some heavy rain, some lightning. Folks in and around Stamping Ground getting in on some more rainfall. And in eastern Franklin County, just north of Midway, pockets some heavy rain there as well. As far as the metro is concerned, few showers passing through. We've had some rain working across Fayette County this evening, tonight. And it looks like we're going to deal with a few more showers. Folks there in Paris, along 27 riding into Paris, some light rain continues. We still see some more heavier rain over in Clark County. And folks there in Stanton, more storms rumbling through. This activity is working towards the northeast. Nothing severe, so good news there. This was the area that had that tornado warm storm earlier and did cause some issues across parts of Powell County, working into Menifee County. Tornado warning with that cell that moved through. But right now, not seeing anything severe with this activity. It's tracking off towards the northeast. Let's get a check on velocity to make sure. Do have a pocket of some winds showing up just outside of Irvin here. So some gusty winds showing up with this cell. That could be a concern as it moves into southern parts of Powell County. Could bring some gusty winds, some heavy rainfall. But as far as rotation is concerned, not seeing that with that cell. Overall, a lot of rotation not being noted with some of the storms out there. Good to see. But pockets of some gustier winds and heavy rainfall will certainly be possible. You can see the tornado warned cell that we broke in for has been allowed to expire early, about 20 minutes earlier. Good news there. You can see that cell now working just outside of our DMA.
20 seconds.
Just
20 seconds.
okay.
You're almost done.
All right. Well, that's it for weather. I'm going to get it over to Andrea as the 10 o'clock news. 10 o'clock news starts here in just a couple seconds.
Live from Lexington, our home, your news. This is Fox 56 News at 10.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm Andrea Walker, and we do begin with our ongoing severe weather across central Kentucky. A tornado warning was issued earlier this evening, with our Weather Authority team staying on air for about an hour straight, even longer at this point, tracking the storms as they moved through. Now, we want to give you a better idea of what we've been talking about here. Take a look at this video shared with us by Miranda Fallon out in Powell County as the storm moved through the area earlier this evening. Those skies very ominous there. And here is another angle of the storm. This video is from storm chaser Chris Hall with 606 Storm Chasing. It shows the area of rotation that our Weather Authority team has been tracking in real time this evening. Now, emergency crews are out working right now to check the damage left behind. Our Peyton Hinkle joins us live from Powell County with the very latest. Peyton?
Hey, Andrea, good evening to you. Yeah, we did see those storms move through portions of Powell County here, and right now we're along Morris Creek Road where they are actually working a scene behind me. I'm going to go ahead and step out of the way. My photographer, Kaylee Vaughn, is going to show you exactly the scene. We did have a deadly car crash, I've just confirmed here, that was weather related. Again, this is on Morris Creek Road near Roberts Road here just north of Stanton in Powell County. Now, emergency officials on scene tell me that they are also seeing some downed trees and power lines in the areas of Boone Creek and Hatcher Creek roads where they're seeing some of those trees down. Again, unfortunately, this crash here behind me that was weather related did become deadly this evening. So they are continuing to work that scene. I'm told by fire officials that Kentucky State Police is now taking over this investigation into this crash, again, here on Morris Creek Road. And again, we are seeing some damage. Good news is some of the damage we are seeing does appear to be minor in nature across Powell County. I'm working my sources down here, including emergency management officials and fire officials. We've also spoken with Powell County Dispatch, and they're telling us that right now all priority has been on this deadly crash here on Morris Creek Road. But again, they are seeing some trees down and power lines down in the areas of Boone Creek and Hatcher Creek Road. So we'll continue to follow this as the evening goes on and continue to keep you updated. Another storm beginning to work into the area right now. As you see, rain beginning to come down right now. We'll continue to follow this for you on air and online at fox56news.com. Plus, we'll have the latest tomorrow morning as well. Andrea, I'll send it back into you.
Yeah, and we're tracking more scattered showers and storms moving over the same area that was hit hard earlier this evening. The good news is no active warnings across central or eastern Kentucky, and that is a good thing to see right now. But some of the storms we are tracking right where Peyton was, now moving over the same area. Folks there in Powell County, right along the Parkway, Stanton, some stronger storms working from the southwest, sliding east and northeastward. So more rain, some gusty winds, some heavy rainfall certainly showing up for those areas, but nothing severe. So good news there. We ride up to our north, folks there in Mount Sterling, Jeffersonville, back to our west, just north of Winchester along I-64. You can see the darker reds indicating some of the heavier rainfall, some of the lightning we're seeing. But again, nothing severe. more downpours showing up in and around Carlisle, just south of Millersburg. Folks there in Scott County, north of Georgetown, picking up on some heavier rain. We're seeing more activity sliding in from the west as well, working along 460. So when we zoom things out, no active warnings, some scattered showers and storms showing up across central Kentucky, more activity starting to develop to our south and west. And we're going to hold on to a spotty chance for some downpours and a few storms overnight tonight, but that severe threat starts to drop off. So good news there. However, another round of storms ahead for your Wednesday. Some of those could be strong. So when we come back here in just a moment, we're going to talk more about storm timing, additional rain amounts expected, and when some dry time finally shows up. We'll have those details and more here in just a bit. Andrea.
All right. Thank you, Chris. And sticking with weather here.
From Fox 56 News, the Weather Authority, this is a severe weather alert.
All right, everyone, another tornado warning issued just a short while ago. This is for portions of far northern Elliott County. This will continue for the next couple of minutes. Overall, the rotation with this cell has been relatively weak since entering portions of northern Elliott County. Let's take a look real quick at the velocity imagery. Rotation has not been all that great since this warning has been issued. It has been there, but the rotation now over the last 4 to 5 minutes really starting to weaken out. We do have a lot of lightning that's pulsing up in addition to what has been some very heavy rainfall and some gusty winds associated with this cell. But the strongest part of this cell will be exiting northern Elliott County here in the next 2 to 3 minutes. So we're going to see this storm begin to cross over the border here, heading eastward, and we'll do so in the next couple minutes. And the most dangerous part of this storm, where we have seen a little bit of this rotation, will soon exit eastward. As far as the rest of the coverage area goes, a lot of the storms beginning to quiet down now. So good news there. Here in central Kentucky, the scattered showers and storms we had earlier have since dissipated. So good news there. Trending drier. Georgetown here in Lexington, Cynthiana, some of the surrounding areas. We were watching some of the scattered shower and storm activity across our southern communities. This continues to pose a few downpours, say from portions of McKee northward up towards Irvin, getting closer to southern Clark County there just south of Winchester. Nothing severe with this activity, just some downpours, and that will eventually fizzle away. Latest on the storm that we were just talking about. The tornado warning has been allowed to expire. We'll take a quick look at the velocity imagery here. Rotation has never been all that strong with this cell. Still a strong storm, packing some gusty winds, heavy rainfall and lightning, but the severe potential with this was never great. So good to see that rotation continue to weaken and broaden out there. As we continue through tonight, though, folks, a few scattered downpours will remain a possibility. The strongest part of the storm's now exiting our DMA, our coverage area, so good news there. We get into tomorrow morning, additional showers and storms will be possible, and we're going to hold on to those rain chances later tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening as a cold front takes aim at the region. But for now, that's going to do it for this quick update. We'll get you back to regular scheduled programming, and we'll keep an eye on any radar changes through tonight, and especially as we get into your Wednesday with more storm chances ahead.